What's up, friends? My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to Sunday Q&A. And we're going to be looking at some 0603's and the new HQ Ultralight Triblades, which is pretty exciting. I've tested these props before. I tested the prototypes of them, but the prototypes were super fragile. The prototypes were ABS. These are polycarbonate. The production versions are polycarbonate, which is a massive step in the right direction. But as we talked about Friday? Yeah, Friday. If you make a tri-blade propeller that is lighter than a bi-blade propeller, that tri-blade propeller is going to be a little fragile. I like to call my name for these that Jesse thought was hysterical is HQ YOLO props. And you know, we are very lucky to have these. Like if it was the only good propeller, then maybe we could justify like complaining about the durability. But we have a whole bunch of really good propellers. And now we've got another really good one that's just kind of fragile. That's great. You know, if you don't crash much, or if how fragile it is doesn't matter to you, and you're willing to swap props all the time, then you've got a better performing propeller available to you, right? If it was more durable, it wouldn't be quite as light. So yeah, very, very, very cool propeller. The performance is wild. On the little intro there, that was the 75mm Walksnail build with the 0802 27,000s on it. Today, it has the 1002 23,500s on it, which we put on Friday. I flew that before the stream on Friday, and then I forgot to show it to you guys on the stream. So, yeah, feel free to watch the intro again for this guy. I couldn't believe the image quality outside. Like, I've only really been flying the Walksnail stuff in the dark-ass basement here, and then in the super dark drift car place. And so yeah, getting this 6-gram camera system, the Walksnail Light outside, was very, very cool. The power is just not there though. You know, you saw a couple of times in that like I'm just sitting full throttle trying to catch a dive or any kind of an elevation drop, and it just and bounces off the ground. Could I get used to it? Probably. Like if I just flew a whole bunch of batteries in a row with this, I could get used to it. But I would rather continue to try to sort of engineer the problem out and keep trying to find a motor and propeller combo that's going to give me the power that I want from this thing. Especially because, like, with freestyle, you know, we're at like 30% throttle for 90+% of the battery. And then we only go full throttle and use the extra power that I'll be figuring out how to make for like a quarter of a second at a time. So going more and more powerful on freestyle rigs a lot of times doesn't really affect the runtime all that much. We just don't hammer full throttle like racers do. So yeah, the quest for more power with this continues. I am going to fly a battery outside with these 1002s so that we have kind of back-to-back comparison points. I am pretty sure, though, that the 802 27000s, even outside, definitely in the house, the 802 27000s outperform these 1002s. These are the Flywoo 1002 23500s. Outside, I think the same is true. I think the 802 27000s on the GemFan biblades outperform this setup. These 1002s are significantly heavier, and then the 23,500 kV is low enough, especially versus 27,000, that you really, the biblades on this, the GemFan biblades, just don't make enough power. So then you go to these Triblades, and these Triblades are great, and they do make up for some of that lost power, but then you've got a heavier propeller, and that kind of hurts response time, and it doesn't have like that instantaneous kind of attack that you get with the 802 27000s on the biblades. So yeah, this was a good try, but it's just not quite there, and so we'll keep trying. Next up for this is going to be the Meteor 75 Pro frame with the bigger propellers. The what are they, 45 millimeter? Yeah, with the 45 millimeter props. We're gonna go back to the 802 27000s and try these biblades, and then we're gonna go to the 1002 23500s and try the. So the 802 27s and the 1002 235s. These are the most powerful motors that we have access to at the moment for 1S, mainly because of KV. There are like 1003's that'll have more grunt, but they don't have a high enough KV. There are 802's that have more KV, but they don't have 1.5 millimeter motor shafts, so the durability isn't going to be there. And I don't think we need more KV. I think these 802 27s, the iGal Special Edition motors, I think 27,000 is really pushing. I mean, maybe not, because on the 1.2 inch biblades, we're all the way up to 36,000 KV. So maybe a set of these 802 1.5 millimeter motor shaft dealies in 30,000 kV would help. I don't really know, man. I'm not convinced. I think that 27,000 kV on these big ass 1.6 inch props is enough. I mean, I do have some. I guess I need to test that. I need to do a before I go to the Meteor 65 Pro frame. I guess what I need to do is throw a set of 802 30,000 kV motors onto one of these 75 millimeter frames and swap back over. What I'm worried about with 802s and then continuing to go up on the kV is that it's going to get to a point where it's not making any more power and it's just drawing more amps. And one of the ways that I can test that I actually forgot to is to put these 802.27s back on and motor limit them down a little bit. Motor limit them down to like 90%, which 27. It's 90% of 27. 1, 2, 3, roughly 3,000 less, 27. So that's like 24,000. It's the equivalent of like 24,500 kV. Motor limit it down, fly it, take the motor limit off, take the motor limit back to 100%, fly it again. That is a really good test. If you have a motor that you suspect is too high of a kV for the propeller that's on it, motor limit down to 90%, fly it, put it at full stank, fly it, motor limit down to 90%, fly it, put it back up to full stank, fly it. If you don't feel a significant difference in thrust between the 90% and the 100%, then the motor is not able to wind all the way up to its maximum RPM with the dragginess of the propeller that's on it. And in that case, you know that you've got a motor on there that's too high of a kV. Unfortunately, you can't do that in the other direction. I can't set the motor limiting at 110% on these motors to check what a 29,500 kV motor would be like, right? I have to find a motor that's the higher kV. It almost kind of sort of doesn't matter if the 30,000 kV 802s are a better deal because we don't have them in 1.5 mil motor shaft, and so they're not going to be durable, and that's a total deal breaker. So, but it is actually really good data because maybe we can get a new motor made. You never know. So yeah, the Walksnail 75 millimeter freestyle saga continues. This, I mean, what this basically represents though is how do we build the best performing Walksnail freestyle rig? I'm already there for 65 for an indoor Walksnail 65 millimeter motor to motor Walksnail rig. This is it unequivocally. It's the Betafpv Cross AIO, which is nice and light and doesn't have a VTX built in, and it's pretty damn durable. The frame doesn't matter as much. There are 3 amazing frames that we've got right now. My favorite is the NewBeeDrone Cockroach 65 V3. I have a bunch more of these coming, so you're going to start to see most, if not all, of my rigs transferred over to this frame. So this is my absolute favorite. A very, very, very close second are these extremely colorful Weebleed crown frames. Nothing wrong with these. They're just not quite as durable as the Cockroach frame, and I crash a lot. Tiny Whoop 0702 36,000 kV Firefly motors, Gemfan biblades. And then the canopy, we're still figuring out. Hey, I haven't had a chance to check yet, but the fella that makes the McStinky, I posted a comment ages ago and said, hey man, any chance we can get a version of this for the Walksnail light camera? And he just replied a couple of days ago and said, yo, I finally got it done. Hey, there it is. It's called the McStinky Walksnail, is for, you guessed it, the Walksnail Nano camera. Very, 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 very cool. Let's see if he's got any pictures of it. Is that it? Or is that the HD0 camera? That's the HD0 camera. Any pictures? Probably not. But I think there should be like a 3... No, whatever. It's fine. But if you go into files here, I'm assuming that there's going to be like the walks... What's he say it's going to be called? McStinky Walksnail. There it is. Look at that, yo. So we've got it in 15 millimeter up tilt, 20 millimeter up tilt, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. Wow, dude, very cool. That is super cool of them to make it in all of those different up tilts. And it looks like 6 people have downloaded it already. Awesome. So for freestyle, you're going to want to be on the lower end of this, in my opinion. It depends. I mean, your up tilt has the biggest effect on how fast you're going to fly. If you run really high up tilt, you're just gonna fly faster. That's just the way that it is. It pushes you to just put the nose down more. For free, so the up tilt that you run is mainly a decision based on where you're going to be flying. If you're going to be flying in your house and you've got a small room like I do here, 15, 20 degrees is probably going to be perfect for you. If you're flying in a bigger space, 25, 30, and then above 30 is more for like racing stuff, which I don't know if anybody's really going to be doing on Walksnail, but yeah. It'd be cool to have like a spec league though, like a Walksnail spec racing league. Hey, I also saw somebody on here, hold on. I saw this in the middle of the night last night when I couldn't sleep for shit. So I want to go to history, and where is it? Here it is. Ricky Gode, Gode. I'm putting a link to this in the chat right now. But look what this pioneering fella did. So it's a 65mm Walksnail setup, but with a little bit of a... Oh, you know, I did just notice something, though. He's got big, tall grommets because the VTX doesn't want to clear the ducts. But check this out. Look how not super high this top plate looks. He's only got the... He did what I've been trying to figure out how to do. He put the Walksnail VTX on the top set of posts, and then he put the AIO on the bottom set of posts. And then he made some very cool little 3D printed battery pooch thing here to hang the battery off the bottom. So I am going to 100% steal this idea and message him about this little TPU battery holding thing. Because, yeah, that's very, very, very cool. One of the really cool things about the NewBeeDrone Cockroach V3 frame is not only do they give you the posts up on top like every other frame ever. Come on, jerk. There we go. You have the post on the top, but as you can see, you also have a post on the bottom. So he has crammed the flight controller inside here onto the bottom set of posts, and then he's got the Walksnail VTX up on the top set of posts. That way the camera is fairly slammed down low versus my setup, which is to just stack them like this. And when you stack them like this, you have to run a really long screw here to go all the way down through. And there's just no way that this really long screw is going to be anywhere near as durable as his setup, having the flight controller here. So here's the 65mm rig. You can really see it. See how tall I am there? That's going to hurt durability. I haven't broken this yet, but it can't... Yeah, it just can't possibly be anywhere near as durable as his setup there. So, yeah, I'll be stealing that idea once I can get my hands on that 3D printed little battery holder. Here comes a link to this video if you want to watch it in the chat. But... Oh, shit, I just posted it twice. That's fine. But, yeah, thank you, Ricky Gode, for your... creativity and figuring out how to do that. That's amazing. Here's another picture of it there. he found that using he was able to save a half a gram by not using the screws to hold these grommets in. I'm cool with it. He used like wire and just like twisted it up, which is really, really cool. I'm fine with that on the bottom here. I'm sure that would work on the bottom here. But on the top with the canopy, I don't know about that. I mean, I would be worried about the canopy vibrating and moving around and like, yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. Maybe it's fine. And what an interesting way to save a half a gram. And I guess when you're twisting the wire up, you can maybe like put some force on it to kind of pull down, because that's what, the screws on the top, they pull the canopy down and squash the bushings a little, or the rubber grommets a little bit. And that's where it gets some of its strength from. But I mean, a half a gram is a half a gram. Like that's a significant amount of weight. So, yeah, kind of interesting. His build is on 702's. He is at 24.6 grams. Let me see where I'm at on this setup. Does he have the light camera? He does. He has the light camera in there. He has a heavier canopy, though. Okay, so we're really close. I'm at 25.07. So call it 25.1. So there's the half a gram. The half a gram that he's saving from using wire instead of screws is right there in front of us. He also removed the motor plugs, direct soldered the motors. So yeah, the where him and I have added and saved weight is a little bit different, but yeah, if I were to use that wire trick, that would put me down at 24.6, 24.5 grams. I don't know if I'm going to go down that road. But it's cool to know that exists, and if any of you want to try it, definitely let me know how it goes. I'm so glad that also he has the heat sink on still, which is like 1.2 grams, I believe. So yeah, he could. Wait a second. Why is he so light? How is he so light? He's got this canopy. Hold on a second. Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah. Yeah, look at that. So, edit. 23 grams. I removed the heat sink. So, he's down at 23 grams. What the hell? How is that so light? Maybe the Betafpv 702's are lighter. He's on the exact same AIO. Yeah, this really shows you the profile. Look at the low profile on his, and then look at the profile on mine. Ready? See how much higher I am? Look at that. He did. It does look like he had to run taller grommets to get, because look, like the Walksnail VTX is all over the ducts. So you could kind of see in that one picture that, yeah. But that's a difference, man, and that'll definitely affect durability. So I think maybe I'll probably keep this together and keep flying it and crashing it, and then when this breaks the frame, it's almost certainly going to pull those posts out of the frame. When that happens, then I'll transfer it over to a cockroach frame and do this little deal where I mount top and bottom. Why? How is he down at 23 grams though? What the hell? He's got an extra piece of TPU on the bottom too. Am I missing something here? I mean, the Azzy props are light, but I wouldn't think that they're lighter than the GemFan Biblades. NewBeeDrone Cockroach V3. HD0 canopy. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. It is, maybe that canopy is less weight. This is not a realistic canopy, though, because it's super fragile. It's, like, incredibly thin right here, and it just breaks right away. So this canopy is not even an option. So I guess maybe that canopy is where he's saving some weight. He removed the motor plugs and direct soldered the motors. That's, like, 0.3, 0.4 of a gram, I believe. Maybe these Betafpv 702 SEs are lighter weight than these Happy model motors. The NewBeeDrone Azzy props, like I said, I can't imagine they're that much lighter than the GemFan biblades. And then, yeah, I mean, the Avatar light setup is the Avatar light setup. 23 grams dry. That's really light. He is all... No. He's got rubber grommets top and bottom. I was going to say, he's only got one set of rubber grommets. How the hell? Wow. Yeah, and he also has another piece of TPU in here, to mount the camera to this canopy. See that blue TPU? Yeah, the light camera does not have screw holes to mount up to the canopy, so they make this little adapter that just wraps around the lens. Here, hold on. See it? They make this little TPU adapter. TPU is kind of heavy, so he's got a bunch of extra TPU on here, and he's down at 23 grams. I'm super curious as to how that's possible. Is he on, like, peak screws too? Yep. He's on double peak screws on the inside and then one metal on the outside. Okay, so that's definitely helping. Interesting. This is a cool little video. Watch it for sure. Ricky Goad, good job, brother. Okay. The McStinky Walksnail mount is interesting. McStinky mounts are very lightweight. Trying to think how it would wrap around. I think it looks like it would sit. No, there's a UFL. There's a UFL on the front. So you might need to, like, rotate the Walksnail board. But there's probably an orientation of the Walksnail board that the McStinky would sit perfectly on. It would be this way. You would rotate. You would clock the Walksnail board 90 degrees from the way that I have been, and then that would put the UFL in the back, and then the McStinky would sit, I think, maybe nice and flat. It's hard to tell. But yeah, another Walksnail light mount is a really good thing. In the chat, Feigning Goat is first. David 4F was next. Apache Smoker with the Sniper. Hex Smith, V Pro, Northern Tier, Cole Powers, Troy Prelog, Volusia, Michael K, Bob Bruce, V Pro again, Danzilla the Terrible, Matt Norton, Apache Smoke again, Hendrix Freakazoid, Espander, Douglas Otwell, Matt Norton, CH3, and Frank Nicholas. I'm just going to start reading out the very first page, so if you want to hear your name, you got to get in early. If you want to talk directly to me, all I got to do is type CiottiFPV. If you do it, it'll light up in orange, like this right here. You can also put an @ in front of it. You don't have to. You can do that with each other. If you want to get somebody's attention in chat, type their name, spell it right, and it'll light up on orange for them. This is my website, CiottiFPV.com. This has all the different ways that you can support me. I'm completely crowdfunded, so that all of the info, all of the testing is as unbiased as humanly possible. Here's my streaming schedule with a link to YouTube. Patreon, as it says, helps me out the most. For as little as 7.5 cents per hour of live streaming content, you can join my Patreon, and there's a ton of really cool benefits. I have a whole bunch of technical articles up there, a private YouTube playlist you'll get access to with like almost 90 unedited, half-done edits, sketchy flying, Patreon-only live streams, all kinds of exclusive shit in there. Couple of different Facebook groups, and full access to the Discord with all these beautiful people hanging out from the chat. Over on Etsy, I have some fun stickers and hardware you can buy. Over on Teespring, I've got some shirts and other random stuff you can buy. You can work directly with me one-on-one through Fiverr, or just message me and we'll schedule it. I'll help you fly better, tune better, build better, whatever you want. I've got almost 8 years, or maybe even at this point over 8 years of experience. if you want to go from, you know, being into having the knowledge of somebody that's been into FPV for a year and 2 months to 2 years in about a half an hour, I can definitely do that for you. All the questions that you've ever had, I can answer with actual info, not just something that I read on a Facebook group from somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about. Be really, really, really careful in Facebook groups. There are so many people giving bad advice. It's kind of brutal. And yeah, I mean, when we start talking about like 5-inch rigs, there's a little bit of danger involved, right? Like people, you know, you can get hurt by one of these things. So be really careful when somebody's like, "Oh yeah, it's fine, just send it." Anytime anybody says send it, be wary. People that say send it, they usually don't know what they're talking about because they're too busy just sending it. I can't believe how many times I've said send it on this live stream. It makes me want to jump off a building. Better than let's go though, rather. Ugh, God, I hate everything. Don't hate, appreciate. So yeah, there's that. And then I have a whole bunch of affiliate links. At this point, if you're ordering something on the internet, use an affiliate link. Somebody's got one, and you're probably watching their stuff on YouTube for free. Help them live and eat and get health insurance. I have affiliate links to WeBleedFPV, NewBeeDrone, FPV Cycle, Amazon, GetFPV, Oh My God, Brain 3D, HD0, Flywheel, Max, Banggood, Camera Butter, and AliExpress. Amazon, yo, I know you're ordering shit on Amazon. Change your Amazon bookmark to my affiliate link. If you don't use bookmarks, if you're like me and you just type AMA for Amazon, when you type AMA, it's going to automatically suggest something. You can remove that suggestion. You either right-click it or in Chrome, there's a little X on here. Remove all of the Amazon suggestions that are not my affiliate link. Or just remove all of your Amazon suggestions and then come in here and hit my affiliate link a couple times. And that way, every time you go to Amazon, you'll be staring in the face. You'll be staring with your face at the nut grabber. We call this the nut grabber. It's great for grabbing nuts. That's why I call it that. CiottiIsADonkey.com. That's the website. Apache Smoke Wounded Sniper tagged me, said, "What's up, Gangely Gang and CiottiFPV? How you all doing?" I'm a little tired, but here I am, yo. I had to skip the drift car competition that I was gonna chase today. I could not sleep last night, and then when I finally did sleep this morning, Maggie woke me up and was like, "Yo, Duke shit all over his bed again." We must not have. I don't think we've found him the right food yet. And that coupled with, I think maybe we didn't walk him late enough. He just had. He shit in his cage, and all over the place. It's the second time it's happened. He got it all over himself. He got it all over his bed. We had to throw his bed away. It's a big thing. So yeah, I'm exhausted, but I'll live. Espander says, "Hey Gangly Gang, hi CiottiFPV." CH3 says, "What's up?" Cole Powers says, "Was the opening video a Walksnail rig? Seemed heavy." Look at that. Cole knows. Yeah, you probably already caught when we talked about it, but that was the man. That is my best attempt at a proper like freestyle outdoor-ish Walksnail Whoop. We could do a couple little things here and there. That was on the that was in the Meteor 75 Air frame, so a gram lighter than the Mobula 7 V4 frame, and that was with the 802 27,000s. And so yeah, I don't know. That video also kind of cemented to me why I don't fly whoops outside. Like it's like to steal something that Kebab said a long time ago in a video. It's like it's stuck in first gear. He said stuck in second gear. He was talking about a tricopter thing that he built. But yeah, flying a tiny whoop outside, it feels like it's in limp. It feels like you're flying something that's in limp mode that can't go more than 61 miles an hour. If we're talking in car terms, like it just, no matter how much you put the nose down, it just won't accelerate the way that I would want it to. I would want a craft to that I'm flying outside in this big ass open area. If you've got like a little garden or like a little spot with a whole bunch of little tiny gaps and whatnot, I totally get it. It's going to be great for that. It's going to bounce. You know, you saw me hit a bunch of scraggle and it just bounced off. It didn't fall out of the air. So in that respect, I get it, but the flight characteristics are just not there. And like, I'm going to try to continue adding power with the bigger frame and the bigger props, but I don't think that's the problem. I don't really think power will definitely help. I'll say that. Power will definitely help. And what I'm trying to get this thing to be is a monster at the jungle gym. So this whole like flying out in the front yard thing is really just kind of testing. But what I'm looking out for is like the at the bottom of dives, the ability to like I don't like this whole like behavior that underpowered rigs give you. So yeah, it's interesting. Like, on one hand, I could focus on saving weight, but like I really try to build these things to be as off the shelf as possible, and just like to make people that watch this channel that want to do the build, to make their lives easier, especially if they're new, right? Like, there's nothing worse than when you're trying to get into something and everybody is like spending all this time and everybody's an expert in doing all of this custom work, and you look at that and you're like, well, fuck, I'm new. I don't know how to do any of that. I might as well just give up. I remember that when I first got into FPV. I remember that, like, you know, we're going back like 8 years now. It was very, very DIY and very, very custom, especially with micros. And the Baby Hawk was like one of the very first micros that was relatively bind and fly. No, it was bind and fly. It was full blown bind and fly. And as somebody new getting into the hobby, that was really important to me. Also from a serviceability standpoint, right? Like, if you take a bunch of parts and you remove a bunch of weight and do all this custom shit to them, and then you crash it hard and you start breaking those parts, you have to replace them with parts that you then spend all that time on. And what, for me, that ends up being is a rig that you don't really fly all that hard because you don't want to crash it, because you don't want to have to spend all that time over and over and over and over again customizing all those parts that are on it. So I really, really, really try hard to keep these things as off the shelf as possible, and just focus on picking the perfect off the shelf parts to put it together with. So, and with this build, I'm kind of there. Like, you know, this is the Meteor this is the Mobula 7 V4 frame, which is a gram heavier. I just don't have two of these frames, and quite honestly, 1 gram is not. I'm gonna fly this outside, and I'm just gonna know in my head that it could be 1 less gram. The 1 additional gram that this particular build is here is not gonna is not gonna transform this thing. Like, if this is close to being awesome, then great, but it won't be. It won't be close enough to being right that the 1 gram would affect it. Make sense? So yeah, I think the solution is going to be to bump up to the bigger props, but we'll see. That's the next step. I have one of those on the way. CMYK says, "Yo, dudes." Brad Bonden says, "You just did the thing." Hold on a second. Brad Bonden says, "Savage Cyclones or Super Cyclones?" Interesting. I think that's for the. I think those are motor name suggestions from Brad. I have something else cooking on the motors. Yeah, admittedly I'm all over the place with motors right now. I don't know which direction to go, but I also can't / don't want to talk about it. So yeah, I think I'm good on motor. I need to figure out sizing and KV before names at this point. Although I'm still thinking about names, so keep the name suggestions coming. H. Rich says, hope you're all good. Just wondering your thoughts on A30 connectors for 1S. They're great. They're basically the same exact thing as BT 2.0, but the manufacturers don't have to pay Betafpv to use them. So yeah, A30 connectors are every bit as good as BT 2.0. They're kind of the same thing. I don't find them any easier to unplug. Unfortunately for A30 connectors, Betafpv just came out with these 180-degree connectors, which are a godsend. So until there's an A30 180-degree connector, I'm going to be going with BT 2.0s, which is fine because none of the batteries are coming with A30 connectors yet. So it's totally interchangeable. Hector Polanco says, hey. VPro says, one of your most recent streams contained a beautiful explanation about PID tuning. Can you tell us what you do with filters on whoops too? I can indeed. Let's dive in really quick. It's not groundbreaking. A bunch of people have done black box logs on 0702. Not a bunch of people. A few people have done black box logs on lightweight tiny whoops. Some of them even have 0702's. And there really hasn't been any. Every once in a while with like a specific prop size or a specific frame, there will be like a secret little thing that we learned from the black box log, like a specific frequency, 274 hertz, where a specific frame resonates. And then we can do stuff like drop a notch filter exactly on that frequency to take care of it. So there are some situations that black box logs can show you some very specific, very helpful things that really help with your filter tuning. Of the tiny whoop black box logs that I've seen, there have not been any real secrets. So standard kind of filter tuning really applies. And I don't find that it's really worth it to go bananas on filter tuning. It's just the stock filter configuration in Betaflight nowadays is really, really good. And you're not going to gain much. You're not going to gain a significant amount of performance spending hours and hours and hours and hours dialing your filters in and with black box logs and whatnot. So like a pretty standard. So a completely stock filter setup is going to be absolutely fine. What I do is just push that a little bit. This is a pretty tame reduction in filters. So by default, this gyro filter multiplier slider up at the top here is going to be dead center at 1.0. I have pushed it to 2. Some people turn this off. Gyro filtering does practically nothing at this point. But if you so you can usually get away with turning it all the way off. Taking this slider and pushing it all the way up to 2.0 reduces the delay from this gyro filter to the point where like it's almost worthless to turn it off. Like, so by moving this filter up to 2.0, I still have a little bit of gyro filtering between 500 hertz and 1000 hertz. And the amount of processor that this uses to filter these high frequencies is very, 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 very little. So the difference between the default filtering of 1.0 and then 2.0 is, let's just say 2 milliseconds. I'm just pulling that number out of the air. All right. So let's say I'm saving 2 milliseconds here by moving this slider up. If I was to turn this gyro low pass filter all the way off, I would probably only gain another half a millisecond or maybe even less than that. So in my opinion, it kind of makes sense to leave that filter on, but just push it all the way up. And then if I have some wacky vibration up at 550 hertz, that gyro low pass might hit it and take care of it. It's basically, it's not worth the additional delay to turn that completely off. I would rather have a little bit too much filtering than too little filtering, because too little filtering, the rig doesn't fly. Too much filtering, it flies, and there's just a fraction of a millisecond delay, and I'm always willing to kind of handle that, to deal with that rather. The D-term filtering, this is where most of the filtering occurs. So the default D-term filter is 1.0. I only push it up to 1.2 for that same exact reason. Pushing it up a little bit gives you a chunk less latency, but if you continue to chase the dragon and continue to push this D-term filter multiplier up towards less filtering, you can very quickly get into the situation where you don't have enough filtering and now the rig wants to fly away. And you have to adjust filters before you can even fly it. My main fear is that I'm going to crash it somewhere that's unrecoverable, and then it's going to bend a propeller or bend a motor shaft, and it won't be flyable to get out of that unrecoverable location. So again, I would rather have more filtering and sacrifice a little bit of latency, but we are able to safely push this to 1.2. Usually you can safely push this to 1.4, but I do not see any real significant noticeable improvement in flight characteristics by going beyond like 1.2 on this D-term filter slider, and I would I would always rather have a little bit too much filtering than not enough. Gyro RPM filter down here, stone stock, 3 harmonics, minimum frequency of 100. Dynamic notch filter, I don't know what the default settings are here, but these are the settings that I use on most of my rigs. They're, again, pretty tame, but they're actually a little bit more aggressive. The max frequency here is usually down at like 600, which is what you want for 5-inch rigs. These little bastards turn so much RPM that there's the potential for vibrations up in frequencies 700, 800, 900. Also, the higher the frequency, the less the penalty. So moving this max frequency from 600 to 1,000, we are telling it, hey, we're telling the filters, hey, I want you to filter this up here as well, and it's only going to cause like a fraction of a millisecond of additional delay, asking it to filter up here. If we tell it to filter more down low, that's much more difficult, and that's going to add a lot of extra, that's going to add more additional latency than a big extra chunk up top. So yeah, it's adding a level of safety with very little penalty to move your max frequency up to 1,000. The min frequency, we could probably move this up to 200. But again, we're being a little bit safe here. It's only one dynamic notch filter that I have turned on. And then the Q factor of 500 is narrowing the band. So the dynamic notch filter, it kind of hunts around and it looks for the frequency that the RPM filters can't hit. The RPM filters look for RPM bands that are created by the motors spinning up and down. So the RPM filters are kind of like this to trace the up and down, the increasing and decreasing RPM of the motors. The dynamic filters look like this, and they move around. And the big thing that dynamic filters look for, and not look for, but target, is the harmonic frequency of the frame. Every frame will have like a frequency that it sits there and kind of wiggles at. And the dynamic notch filter does a really good job finding that frequency and just kind of hanging out there. The Q factor is how wide the dynamic notch filter is. So a tight frame, a stiff frame, it'll have this, they all have a frequency that they resonate at. The stiffer the frame, the narrower the frequency that it's going to vibrate at. So the narrower you can make your dynamic notch filter, and that's the Q factor. And so the narrower of a band of frequencies that you filter, the less latency, right? It's less work to do. If you tell it like, hey, I need you to filter, I need the dynamic filter to be this wide, it's going to have to filter everything in there. So it's going to have to do all that work. As you narrow it down, it has to do less work. A Q factor of 500 is pretty, it's not that aggressive, but it's aggressive. Tuning the Q filter without black box is pretty much impossible. But there have been people that I've seen do black box stuff with tiny whoops, and these are the like. So when I love it when multiple people do it, because I can look at each one of their setups and then kind of meet in the middle, or a lot of times I'll just kind of pick the one that's most aggressive and just not most aggressive, safest. I'll pick the filtering scheme that's the safest, and then I just kind of think about it, since I know the way that these filters work, and I have a lot of experience with these frames and sitting here doing this and just kind of seeing how they react when I make these different changes and actually fly them for real and crash them and bang the motors up and the props and all that stuff. I can usually find like a really safe set of filters. I also try to keep the filtering pretty simple, right? There's like no notch filters in here. There's no crazy shit that I'm doing. It's a pretty basic filter setup. All that being said, the completely stone stock Betaflight filtering setup in 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5 is amazing. And you really don't need to change filters. If you want to chase the dragon, here's a way to shave a couple of milliseconds of latency off. But leaving the filters completely alone is going to be the safest setup, and that's going to let you fly the most and recover your rig more often than not. D-gain. More D-gain will, well, not always, but 99% of the time, more D-gain and less aggressive filtering, safer filtering, will give you a rig that flies better. That's not to say that you want to take your stock filters and add additional filtering. They're like, this filter scheme that I have here is essentially removing the additional unneeded filtering. Like, in my opinion, this setup should be default Betaflight. But this setup is only going to work if you have a remotely clean setup without a ton of electrical noise. As soon as you put an AI, like a Diamond AIO or like any other flight controller ESC combo that is not manufactured really well and has a bunch of extra electrical noise, this goes to hell, and the stone stock Betaflight filters are what you need. The Betaflight devs are brilliant at creating a flight firmware that will work everywhere. It'll work in other countries where they can't get the good components and where their air density is very thin, for example, up in high elevations. It works for those of us that can buy good components and we're at sea level or 1,000 feet above sea level with nice thick air, right? Like, Betaflight has done a beautiful job making software that works everywhere, and that's like amazing. But you got to remember that, right? If you're following my builds, I've chosen the best components that I can possibly find, so we can safely push these filters a little bit and still have something that's super safe, and that we can have a lot of D-gain with. If you start chasing the dragon with filters and trying to find every extra 0.3 of a millisecond, you are not going to be able to push your D-gains, and there's a chance that your rig is going to be sitting in prop wash more than if you were to add a little bit of extra filtering and then push your D-gain another 5 or 10 points. So yeah, there's a stone with a good mechanical system. The dead stock Betaflight setup is overly safe for no real reason. So you can push it a little bit, and that's what I've tried to do, is push it a little bit to keep it into a safe position, but with good mechanical components. And then you've got a bunch of, you've got plenty of leeway to add a bunch of extra D-gain in the PIDs tab, which is more important. More D-gain is more important than less filtering. And I have talked to pretty much every black box tuner that I've talked to that actually flies and compares the black box logs to real flight footage. Has kind of agreed on that. Although, Brandon, I don't know if we've talked about that. What's your stance on that, Brandon? Brandon is a genius tuner that also flies and is a great pilot. So, no, I think we have talked about that, Brandon, haven't we? I forget. I know that I've talked to Chris Rosser and Mark Spatz about it. But I'm not sure if Brandon and I have ever had that conversation. I kind of think that maybe we have. And there's, you know, I mean, there's some subtleties in there. I mean, like, you know, how much is too, like, do I add a little bit, do I take a little bit of filtering away and I only go down 5 on my D-gain? Is that worth it? Or is it, right? So there's some subtlety here. But, like, what I've found in so much testing and flying so many batteries is that this is a super safe, super effective filter setup. That's not going to drive you crazy having to take D-gain out or adjust filters every couple of batteries as you beat motors up or beat propellers up. But at the same time, I mean, you guys see my rigs fly, right? Like, with a bunch of D-gain added in, I can't get them to prop wash. Like, with the higher KV motors and the Gemfan biblades, like, I send this thing across the room, full stank-a-lot-of-puss, crank it around, dump it exactly into its own prop wash and stab the throttle, and it just rails back the other direction without a wiggle, without a bobble, with nothing. And, you know, off the shelf stuff, like, I'm not doing anything crazy here. I'm buying a bunch of parts, plugging them in, soldering up a battery lead, and away we go. So I'm not doing anything like that anybody can't do super simply. So yeah, great question, dude. I don't talk a lot about filtering because I don't really need to. Like, the completely stock Betaflight filtering is really, really good. It's very low latency. It's aggressive enough, but not too aggressive, and it'll cover you if you haven't copied my build exactly. If you've gone with the Diamond AIO, if you've gone with the Super BAIO, if your frame is a little bit banged up, if your motors are a little bit banged up, that stone stock filtering setup is going to work really, really well, and give you the leeway that you need to push the PIDs, and you're going to really see some drastic gains by pushing the D-gain up, especially in prop wash, and, like, just that so if you have nowhere near enough D-gain, when you fly into dirty air, it'll wobble a bunch of times. Like, you'll know it. It'll just jiggle, 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 jiggle. And you can look at that as your lesson as to what not to do, right? If you're in a phase that you're trying to get good, that's actually really important to see that, because that is the quad telling you, like, hey, you put me into dirty air, maybe don't do that next time. So it's going to literally make you a better pilot to see that. If you increase the D-gain, you can get rid of that. But what you'll still get is, on a quick throttle stab in dirty air, you'll get like 2 or maybe just 1 little wiggle. You'll just get like, you stab the throttle real quick and it'll like, and then it'll go. And if you keep pushing the D-gain up even more, you can get rid of that. So those are like the phases of D-gain. So, I mean, what you could do, and basically what I've done, and it takes some time, but if you really want to tune without, this is how you tune without black box, really, is you decrease the amount of filtering. You just balance it out. You decrease the amount of filtering, and then you run the D-gains up. You decrease the filtering, and then you run the D-gains up until the point where the damn thing flies away, and then you back the D-gain off, and you fly it around. You see how the flight performance is. Well, now you add filtering, and then you add D-gain, and you fly it around, and you see how the flight performance is. and you just play this little game where as you increase the amount of filtering, you're able to increase the amount of, I'm sorry, it's the other way. As you increase the amount of filtering, you're able to increase the amount of degain. And I guess you could, I guess it is kind of different with everybody. It might be different with everybody. I haven't noticed that. I haven't noticed that, like, I have a flight style where I'm pretty aggressive on the throttle, right? So being really quick on throttle stabs can very easily bring out like this little wobble. So for me, a lot of degain really helps with that. For somebody that's not as fast on the throttle stick, you would probably benefit from less degain and less filtering, because less filtering is going to decrease the delay. Delay as in, like, you push the stick and then the quad responds. So I believe that your mix of filtering versus degain, and the P and I come along for the ride, but mainly degain is doing the work. I guess that's going to be it's going to be subtle, though. That's going to be really tough for you to dial that in. But it's there. It's there. If you want to go down the rabbit hole of tuning, which is kind of fun. If you're trying to get good, though, don't. If you're trying to get good, do not waste your time filter tuning and PID tuning. Set them at an average value, maybe even completely stock, and just fly. PID tuning and filter tuning will never make you a better pilot. And I am a firm believer that it'll actually make you a worse pilot, because you have something to blame. And if you get really good at filter and PID tuning, it's going to cover up the instances where you put the rig into prop wash. And it's important to know when you put the rig into prop wash in its own dirty air. So if you're trying to get good, don't go down this rabbit hole. If getting good is the maximum fun in FPV for you, ignore everything I just said for the last 10 minutes. If the fun of FPV for you is more engineering and more tuning, or if you want your flight footage to look as good as possible, which is my case, then filter tuning and PID tuning becomes significantly more important, and you should spend some time on it. But yeah, if the goal is to get good, screw filters and PIDs, just fly batteries. Flying batteries is how you get good, and like working on concepts and being very thoughtful and watching your footage back and being self-critical, but not, calling yourself an asshole all the time, which for some of us is very tough. That's how you get better. Cool? There's a big long answer to a great short question. CMYK FPV says, I'm trying to like the 75mm, but those 27,000 kV motors are not letting me pull out of tricks as consistently as with the 65, sitting at 38 grams all up on the 75, if memory serves. Let me see what my Jungle Gym Basher is at. I think what CMYK is running into is that the 65mm rigs are and have always been more popular, so they've had more of a sort of R&D cycle. So I am at 24.3 grams on the analog Jungle Gym Basher CMYK, in case that helps. Oh, and actually, I need to get another. Well, maybe this rig is where the Meteor 75 light frame will end up. So I can save a gram on this rig. So I can get this thing down to 23.3 grams. That's pretty cool. So I'll do that at some point, and that'll also give me a chance to durability test this. I'm not really flying this rig right now, though, because it's so cold out that I know that I'm just this plastic's gonna get brittle and just crack. So yeah, when it warms up a little bit, we'll get the light frame on this, because I have crashed this enough to know roughly how durable this Mobula 7 V4 frame is. I do not know how durable this brand new Meteor 75 airframe is, but I do want to find out. What I think you're running into, CMYK, is what I'm really starting to notice is the biggest difference between 75 and 65 is like the acceleration. The 65mm rigs, they're just so light, and the high KV motors with the biblades, they change RPM so fast that like with these 65mm rigs, you get like when you stab the throttle, like it's coming down and it's like, and it's just gone. There's just this immediate like poppy explosion of power. The 75mm rigs, when they come down, it's like there's just, it does not accelerate as quickly, but it's, you know, it's Miata versus Mustang. You run a Miata versus a Mustang, like take like a 250 horsepower Miata and a 350, 400 horsepower Mustang. You run them from a stoplight. The Miata is going to be in front to 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. And then the Mustang is going to come past. And if you keep going, quarter mile, half mile, the Mustang is gone. There's power to weight. And that's where the Miata has the advantage. So from a dead stop to 60 or 70 or 80, that power to weight ratio makes a huge difference. But then after 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, wind resistance comes in, and it's just horsepower, or in our case, thrust, to push against that extra wind resistance. So the 65mm rig is so lightweight that it can change directions very quickly. But then if you keep going, it doesn't have the raw power to push through the wall of air at... My guess is Tiny Whoops go 40 miles an hour, maybe 50. So like a 65mm rig would probably top out at like 45 to 50 miles an hour, whereas a 75mm rig, which has more power, even though it is also less aerodynamic because it's bigger, it can probably push to 55 or 60 miles an hour. We see that as quads get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? We get up to 5-inch rigs, they can go 90, 100 miles an hour. There are big, massive 10-inch rigs that'll go even faster than that. Yeah, power pushes air. Power to weight ratio accelerates objects. And I think that's what CMYK is seeing. That's certainly what I see when I compare 65s to 75s in the house, outside the house, it doesn't matter. And so, yeah, and that is also one of the things that lends the 65s to be better at small, tight spaces. Having that ability to change directions really quick can get you out of a lot of bad situations, right? There's a piece of scraggle that you didn't see until the last second, and you got to just and try to miss it. The 75 is going to and just bash into the damn thing with that extra weight. But where things become interesting is when you're flying outside and you've got a big long street to cruise down, right? You're cruising down the street with the 65, you feel like you're stuck in first gear because it just doesn't have the raw thrust, the raw power to push past the wind resistance. If you didn't know, wind resistance is exponential. Like twice the power will not go twice as fast. You need to square... I think it's square root based. You, instead of multiplying by 2 to go twice as fast, you have to square the amount of power to go twice as fast. So, yeah, once the speeds raise, you have to make a lot more power to push through that additional wall of air. You know, put your hand out the window at 60 miles an hour and it like tries to rip your hand off. Go 100 miles an hour and push your hand. Actually, don't, because you'll get hurt. If you've ever tried to put your hand out of the window of a car going like 80, 90, 100, it's fucking madness. It is just bananas how much more wind resistance there is. You're like, I'm only going 20 miles an hour faster. It's, but yeah, the wind resistance drastically increases as the speeds go up. CMYK dropping the CiottiFPV.com link. Thank you, dude. Brandon's Baked Bean says, CiottiFPV.com and click the Discord link at the top. Join Patreon for full channel access. Thank you, brother. Elmo Hawk saying hi, just tagging me. Sergio says, did you have any stream with a Whoop with Betafpv F4 1S 5 amp AIO? Loads, Sergio. I have a specific series of live streams where I did the really popular racing build that uses that AIO. And then lately, every single one of these Walksnail rigs that I've built has had that AIO. So loads and loads and loads of content on this channel with that AIO. There's a really handy little trick here on... What did it do that for? There's a really cool trick on YouTube. If you go to someone's channel, you can click this tiny little magnifying glass that they've kind of hidden here, and I wish they hadn't. You click this, and it opens up a search field, and you can search just on this person's channel. So, I don't know why I went to Jackie's channel, but if I go to my own channel and I search for Betafpv 1S, it's going to go through all of the timestamps. It's going to go through like everything, and it's going to find you a bunch of really good search results. Here is the live stream where I specifically built at the time I thought it was going to be the best freestyle build, but this is what most of the racers run. There is that AIO there. And then, yeah, here's the 1S65 Walksnail build with that AIO in the corner here. Here's another one where I think I used that AIO. This is an older one, 3 years ago. This one's probably not good. Here's another... no, I did not use it on this one. I didn't use it on this one as well. But those first two, and if you really dig and click through some of these, you'll find other ones. Here it is again. There it is there. It's not always in the thumbnail. Here it is again here. Here it is again here. It's not always in the thumbnail, but if you click through onto these videos, there are timestamps and all kinds of stuff. You'll find just tons and tons and tons of content with that AIO. Hold on, let me fix this. This got all weird when I refreshed that page. Okay. Come back up here and... All right, so... I shouldn't have done that. I lost a whole bunch of chat comments. So if you tagged me and I missed your message, I apologize. It's because I accidentally refreshed that page and then I just opened up a new chat. Feel free to tag me again and ask it. The most recent chat comment that I've got is from 3:31 p.m. from Elmo Hawk. He says, "Yeah, motor are solder like Scott said." Oh, yeah, right. The no motor plugs. Removing the motor plugs and direct soldering the motors saves 0.3, I believe, of a gram, which to me is not enough weight savings to justify what an absolute pain in the ass it is to do the job. And then when you bang up a motor, it makes you not want to replace it and just keep flying the rig with Jello. So yeah, I'm not willing to do that. If you are, that's awesome. You're going to have a rig that performs better and is a little bit lighter. But for me, I crash a lot, and the ability to just unplug and plug a new motor in is well worth the weight increase. And it's, again, I try to build these things as realistic as possible and as easy as possible so that if you're new, you can build the exact same rig as me and yeah, just focus on your flying. Kevin Sumner says, want me to print some of those 65mm Whoop parts? If so, I'll do it and send it through the mail. There's a couple. I want to get in touch with that guy to find that little loopy boy. So once I find that, I'll definitely be bugging you, Kevin. Brad Minden says Kebab was talking about Friends, like the show Friends. I know that Joshua recently said that his favorite TV show of all time was Friends. Is that what you're talking about, Brad? I watched Kebab's most recent video about propellers, and I didn't hear him talking about Friends in there. So tell me more. Brad also says, if you went 2S for jungle gym bashing, how would you do it? I just wouldn't. Going from 1S to 2S, double the lightest really good batteries that we have access to are the folded cell 300s. And they are 8.5 grams. If you go from 1S to 2S, you are going to have to add 8.5 grams because you're going to have to add a second one of these batteries. And there's going to be a little bit of extra wire. But let's just use the number 8.5 grams. That 8.5 grams is more than what you add when you go to Walksnail. And when you go to Walksnail, the flight performance goes to hell, but the other thing that's going to happen is that the durability is going to go to hell. I already know this. And so that's the problem. Going to 2S on a Tiny Whoop, 65, 75, it doesn't matter. That 8.5 grams that you add is going to destroy any durability that you might have once had on that rig. And so for a jungle gym basher, that is, those two things are going to you're just going to hate life. Like, yes, you're going to get a shitload of extra power, but the durability is going to go to hell. The durability is really going to go to hell because you're going to have all that, not only the extra weight, the extra weight is the worst part, but also all that extra power is going to create a bunch of extra speed. So you've got two things working against you on the durability side. It's also going to be a lot harder to fly. We don't need that much extra power. Like, going from 1S to 2S is a massive difference, right? Like, think of it in percentages, right? Like we always talk about. You can't think about like, oh, I removed a gram. That's not very much. If you removed a gram from an 18-gram rig, that is a massive percentage change. That's like 8-9% weight savings. That's huge. Battery voltages. Think of the same thing. 4S 5-inch rigs, 4S to 6S. Big difference. Unarguable big difference from 4 to 6S. And that's only a 50% change, right? 4 to 6, 50%. 1S to 2S, that's 100% change. That's like going from a 4S 5-inch rig to an 8S 5-inch rig. That's fucking crazy. And so, like, what might work is going to like 1.5S, but that's just not how these batteries work. So yeah, the increase from 1S to 2S kills durability. Jungle gym bashing is brutal on these plastic frames. So it just doesn't work. There are also really no frames that are set up to hold a 2S battery. So you're going to, like, all of these good new frames that we've got, you can't use any of them unless like you hang the battery off the bottom and now you're fucking up the CG and like maybe the battery is going to shift around. So like you don't see it because like anybody that's done it, myself included, just hates it. And it's just not, there are just too many things in the way. Typically, in my opinion and in my experience, when the right time to go to higher voltages is when your batteries are getting so hot that they're losing performance. Batteries like to be warm. They don't like to be boiling hot. And one of the first things I learned really early days, like my first year of flying, trying to make 2S work on this Baby Hawk way back when, was that, I pushed 2S. I kept finding motors and props that made more and more power. And then eventually I got to the point where my 2S batteries were just boiling. They were so hot. And going up to 3S completely fixed that situation, right? Like heat is the enemy in electricity, right? It's loss. It's really kind of the only place that you can lose. Not really, but it's the main place that you're going to lose efficiency when the electricity turns into heat. So going up in voltage helps with that. We are not at the point yet where these 1S batteries are coming down boiling hot. They are coming down warm. So like we are getting somewhere near the limits, which is kind of cool. Like that's what we want. That's what we did with 5-inch rigs, right? And it's one of the reasons that 5-inch rigs fly so good. Grab a, when I pull a 6S 1050 off one of my glides, like, it's hot. It's not too hot, but it's hot. And that means that, we're using the batteries to their not to their max, but somewhere near their max, right? We're min-maxing the powertrain. And it's great that we're finally starting to do that with Tiny Whoops too, because Tiny Whoops, have never really gotten batteries warm at all, nor have they gotten motors warm. So yeah, it's kind of a good thing. So yeah, Brad, I don't have any suggestions for it, mainly because there are no frames. There are no frames that are really going to allow you to do 2S. Yeah, definitely not 2S for jungle gym bashing. 2S for just railing around in the street out in front of your house, sure. I don't know how I would do it, because I don't think that's the right job for a tiny whoop. I think that's a toothpick kind of thing, and we know how to make toothpicks 2S, 3S, and 4S. So yeah. The main thing is going to be trying to find a frame that's going to hold double 1S batteries or some sort of a 2S battery. That's going to be the challenge. After you find that frame, just find an AIO that supports 2S, like the X12, the heavy model X12, and figure out the battery lead, and away you go. Don't crash it. Black Horse says 0603 motors are actually 0703. Not true. They have faster response and more torque than any other motors out there. Also kind of sort of not true. Faster response, I'm with you. More torque, not true. 802s, 1002s are 802s are slightly more stator volume, 1002s are significantly more stator volume. So yeah, any other motors out there is just not true. 603 motors are actually 0703. That's not true. You can, like, I can just see that the 603 motor is a small, I wonder if I can, I wonder if I can show this to you guys. Hold on. I wonder if it'll come through on the camera. Let me pull a propeller off here. Wait. I might have a loose 603. Hold on. Where is that coming from? Where did you read that? Because I know that you didn't like measure, because if you'd measured, you wouldn't be saying that. But where are you reading that? Let me guess. Facebook groups? Don't listen to anything you hear on Facebook groups. It's always wrong. Not always, but way more often is info on Facebook groups wrong than right. Where the hell, where'd my 60... I had an extra 603. Where the hell did it go? And of course I've put, well, fuck it. I have a set of calipers. This is the right way to do it, so let's do it this way. I mean, I'm testing this because I just want to make absolutely sure. I respect your opinion so much that I'm not just going to say, yo, you're wrong. I'm going to test it. All right, let's see. Hey, there's some caliper action. All right, so 703. And I mean, technically the right way to do this would be to pull the C-clip, pull the bell, measure the stator, but we don't have to go down that far down the rabbit hole. We can just measure the outside of the bell and we'll be fine. The outside of a 702 bell is... Oh, it just turned off. Fucker. I bumped the battery. Oh, is this battery going dead? No. Hey, there we go. No! I keep touching the battery by accident. Stop it! Come back! Oh no, it's the battery bay is just like dirty or something. Take it easy. Whoa, it's 4:30. What the hell? Hold on, we got to start flying, yo. You guys ask really good questions that deserve really good answers, and that is why I spend most of the live stream on the Q&A. All right, 702 outer bell diameter is 9.62. And then 603 is... Yeah, come on, get in there. 9.61, it looks like. What was the other one? 9.61. 9.63. Hold on. I'm trying to do this with the prop on, which is silly. There we go. All right, get in there. No. No. Hold on. 9.61. They look 9.62. And that, my friends, is why I measured. What? Well, I need to pull the bell and measure the stator. So what's going on is it's an optical illusion, I guess. That's the only thing that makes any sense. My God, does that ever look... Here, let me show you. I mean, I never thought to measure it, and it's always very obviously looked to be wider. Like, you can't tell me that... Boy, is it hard to get this to show up, but... Alright, so those are even now. You can't tell me that 702 does not look bigger. But here's the optical illusion. When you look at them from the side, the 702 really, or from an angle, the 702 really does look bigger. See what I mean? God, is that hard to show you guys, but... and of course it does, because the bell is shorter, right? Like, that's the whole... Look at that. Come on. You can't tell me... It also has the different holes in the top, which don't help the situation, but tell me that 702 does not look wider than that 603. So the outer bell... yeah, so the reason that I really need to pull... And I'm not doing it here today, but the reason I need to pull the bell and measure the stator is that there's a chance that the magnets on the 703 are thicker. Wait. There is a chance that the magnets on the 603 are thicker than the magnets on the 702. That's the only thing that would make sense. I was just talking to Jesse about 603's yesterday, actually. I'm going to have to ask him, because that's where these 603's are from. He's the only one that's having 603's made at this point. I'm going to have to ask him what's going on with that. That is wild. Do I have a frame with 702's? I do. Oh, this is the heavier frame, though. I don't have two identical frames. The 603's are significantly heavier than the 702's. They're not as heavy as the 802's, though, which is kind of interesting. Well, I'm like second-guessing everything now. 603. Why the hell would they mark it as 6? That's weird, dude. Black Horse, have you measured the stator by chance? I need to know more. Tag me again. Sergio says, thoughts on Betafpv F4. We talked about that a minute ago. So FPV says $6 for hanging with me for my 6 batteries a day sent to Venmo. Do you know why I would have different motor response between my BLV4 and HBV3? Hummingbird V3. Got it. Everything is the same except the BLV4 has BlueJ 0.18. HB3 has BlueJ 0.19. BLV4 feels more powerful, has an average throttle of 35%. Hummingbird is 45%. Thank you for the support. So what? Very cool of you. Your support literally allows me to do this full time and do as good of a job as I do at it. Interesting. My gut reaction is that there's more electrical noise on the Hummingbird, or there's a more sensitive gyro, or or there's more vibrations. The motors are more beat up, the props are more beat up, the frame is more beat up, or something like that. There are so many, like, I have 3 identical Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoops. They're all drastically different. Not drastically different, but they're all definitely different. So yeah, there are just too many variables. The age of the motors, the amount of abuse the motors have taken, the amount of abuse the propellers have taken, the amount of abuse the frame has taken, how you built it. Maybe you've got a wire routed differently that's pushing up against the AIO. Maybe one of the gyros is on its way out. Maybe one of the maybe there's just more capacitance. In theory, right, the BLV4 Acro B, which is twice as expensive as the Hummingbird, has better quality capacitors, resistors, everything, quality control. So yeah, that's super interesting. I have another Hummingbird AIO, and I have a Acro B BLV4. At some point, I will put that Hummingbird back together, and maybe I'll put the Acro B back into a 65mm frame. Right now, it's in a 75, and I'll see if I can mimic those results. But yeah, that's super weird. Brandon's Baked Bean says, I tune people's whoops with black box and work up the filters using them as my test bench, and then after I get them satisfied, I steal the filter tune and work the PIDs by feel. Absolutely true about filters and black box. It's pretty hard to tune the filters from scratch without it, but we can find a lot of commonalities between whoop to whoop, enough that we can borrow the filters. Very cool. And then Brandon also says, oh, and filters good for 3.2 kilohertz PID loops may not work well on 4K PID loops. Ah, interesting. Because of the differences with the BMI gyro. Very interesting. That's very cool. And I agree, and it's not that I agree because I'm not basing it on actual data like Brandon is, but I have had that experience with the Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoops. One of them has the BMI gyro, and I have to filter that differently and run less D-gain on it. Curtis Hayes says, I live at 6,500 feet in Colorado. Do I need higher grip props or something else compared to lowlanders? You just need to make more thrust, Curtis. If you do that with... But I prefer to do that with higher KV motors because there's no downside to that. Higher KV motors weigh the same. And so, yeah, like props with more blades are heavier, so your response time goes down. Bigger motors are heavier, so you have a heavier rig. Higher KV motors, it's just wound differently. If anything, they're going to be lighter weight because it's less winds. Technically, they're supposed to go up in wire gauge when they do less winds, but usually they don't. So, yeah, you just need to make more power, Curtis. You can do that however you want. Bigger props, more blades, more pitchy props, bigger motors. My favorite, higher KV motors. Burns Pipian says, I would argue it makes me a worse pilot, LOL. What are we talking about here? That was at 4:07. I think Brandon is saying that because he spends so much time tuning, it makes him a worse pilot. And I agree. I've had that exact same experience in my flying career in FPV. In the time that I was hell-bent on learning to tune, I did not get better as a pilot. When I stopped worrying about that and I focus on flying, I get better. Kind of makes sense, right? I think that's what Brandon is saying. CMYK says, okay, I had to weigh it, 24 grams dry. I'll have to adjust my flying for the 75 after I try adding more KV. Oh, that's right. CMYK, you're going from 27,000 to 30,000. Cool. I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna wait for you to do it. Elmo Hawk says, yeah, but maybe that's why the other guy's build was so light. I don't know what we were talking about at 419, Elmo Hawk. Sorry. Brad Bonden says it was too long ago. You said something about stuck in second gear, aka the Friends theme song. Oh my god. Okay. Rain Squad says, what's up? Brad Bonden also says, I'm ordering my Walksnail version 1 goggles tomorrow. Can't wait for HT. You're gonna love them, dude. They're fucking awesome. Demo FPV says, what's up? Orga says, drop everything. Have you seen the new V3 flying car prototype from Viasat? Plan to use it for races. I have not. I don't really have any interest in that stuff, to be honest. I know it's weird, but I just kind of don't. I don't know. Off access, drop in the CiottiFPV.com link. Free Lojo with the Patreon link. Thanks, fellas. Black Horse says, I know a lot, LOL. He says, I measure them. Dude, awesome. They used to be 703 a long time ago, and they changed the bell design to smaller magnets. There we go. And changed the name to 603 to not confuse the two motors. Okay, so they used to be 703s. Changed bell design to small. So that makes a lot of sense, actually. That makes a lot. Well, I was gonna say, if the bells are the same size between 702 and 603, and then they just change the size of the magnets, but the bells can't be the same size because we're going from 2 millimeters tall to 3 millimeters tall. Interesting. You know what's really interesting is that if the magnets are different thicknesses, then that would mean that the 603 has thicker magnets, which would mean that the bell is heavier, which would be worse for response time. The flip side of that is that a 3 millimeter tall stator has 50% more of the height that does more work. The vertical part of the windings does all of the work. The horizontal, the sideways part of the windings doesn't do any work. So it's why we see taller motors making drastically more power than shorter motors. The shorter motors stay cooler though, but with tiny whoop motors, I don't really ever see heat being an issue. So we can go taller. Chris Rosser talks about that all the time, how a taller, skinnier motor has better response time because the bell is lighter weight. It disappoints me that he never mentions that the taller motor is maximizing that vertical part of the winding. And in my opinion, this is something that Ryan Harrell talked about forever ago, that I personally agree with. So yeah, that's super interesting. Denzel Laterro says, did you see Off Axis won a Rippy Award? I did not, but congratulations, dude. Well deserved. Off Axis has been doing awesome stuff lately. I've got no time left to do the things that are in the stream title, but again, these live streams are mainly about the Q&A. That is the most value I can possibly give the FPV community, so it's what I do first and foremost in all these streams. But let's get these 603s up in the air, and we can talk about that Pimp Juice. So these are the really beat up 603s that I recently realized in a Meteor 65 OG frame are not all that beat up. I think if I were to put these into a one of these new lightweight frames, they would not be as amazing. I'm gonna run a quick control battery on the 702 lightweight proper ultimate freestyle tiny whoop. So this is gonna be 702 32,000, and then we're gonna go to 603. Actually, I'm gonna motor limit these down. I'm gonna motor limit these 702s down to 30,000 kV real quick. So hold on, let me do the math. So 32 times 0.9 equals 28.8. That's too much. 32 times 0.94. That's it. 0.94. That's where I want to put the motor limiting. All right, here we go. Not 0.94, but 94%. So we're going to come in here, profile, And we're going to go to miscellaneous PP, go up to go to the bottom, and then we've got motor out. What did I say? 94? I think I might have said 94. So now these 0702's are at 30,000 kV. That is the genius of motor limiting. And having motors that are slightly higher kV than what you need. Oh god, that's gonna hit the wall. Ah, no, no, no. So this rig on the 702s is gonna be lighter. Oh god, no, no! Oh no, it's under cable. Oh boy! Oh no! Come on! So yeah, this is going to be lighter, but one of the things that I'm focusing on is the response time. The 603's are response time kings. The argument is that what we were talking about a second ago, which is that with the taller, skinnier, but now we know that it's not really skinnier, which is super weird. Taller, skinnier motor is going to be able to spin the bell up a little bit quicker, and that's where our response time comes from. Oh my god, I wasn't looking ahead. Oh my god, what is happening? It hit me. It hit me. Woo! Just clipped it. Ah! Ah! My god, what is going on? Come on, fuck you. Oh my god, it went through the little hole on the side, in the corner, rather. Alright, this battery's done. Let's move straight over to the 603's and see what's what. What I'm really curious about are, like, 803's, 703's. Although this might be a 703 that we're about to fly. Those are RPM. Those are individual motor RPMs on the right side of the screen there. I need to turn that off. So this, oh my god, this does feel heavier. But it feels really good. Like, usually, like with 802s, when I go all the way up to 802s, which are heavier than these 603s, it's very obviously, it's even heavier than these. Even the EX 802s. And like, until these Imoptera 33,000 kV 802s, the situation would be like, all right, we're flying 802s, it's heavier, and it doesn't have the extra, like, thrust to make up. And it was an RPM problem, right? That previously 30,000 kV was the max we had on 802s. And so it wouldn't have the thrust, the extra thrust to offset the extra weight. Jesus. Now we do with those 33s, and they're really interesting. These 603s are somewhere in between where, like, that ain't gonna go there. Oh, God. Oh, God. Where are we? Come on! Don't make me walk. I did not get into this hobby to walk. I'm walking. Yeah, so this is somewhere in between. I'm so curious what these would be like with higher KV. I really, really, really am. But the 702s are so lightweight. It's so lightweight. They're so lightweight. And so the 36,000 kV 702s really blew me away. And now it's and like that has me kind of rethinking the whole 603 thing. Because yeah, lightweight wins. This battery is shot. I'll blame it on the battery. Not the fact that I suck. The other thing that the 603's do that I don't love is right here. They have significantly less flight time. The 702's, I almost always get 3 minutes and change. The 603's, I'm usually closer to like 2 minutes, which is kind of fine. You know, battery changes are quick. The batteries are not all that expensive, so it's on one hand, it's like, yeah, go for flight performance, and then let the runtime be what it is. Oh, God damn you! Why am I having such a hard time today? No, don't give up! Never give up! Give up. Sometimes give up. Oh my God. Come on, man. Fuck off. Let me live. Oh! Finally. I think it's one of the batteries that's getting a little old. That was a close one. Okay. I had planned on moving this AIO over to the other frame with the Triblades. But instead, since we've run out of time here, and Maggie and I are going out dancing tonight, I'm just going to swap the propellers. I'm going to pull these bi-blades. Hey, by the way, now that more and more people are starting to get prop poppers, be careful with the prop poppers on your C-clips. These can very easily push a C-clip off the top of your motor bell. If that happens, it's not the end of the world. Just replace the C-clip, but just start keeping an eye on your C-clips to make sure you're not accidentally pushing them out with the prop popper. What I do with the prop popper is just get it ever so slightly under the corner of the propeller, and then that'll be enough. Like, don't push it down and ram it in there. That's what'll push the C-clip off. Just get it ever so slightly under the edge of the propeller and give it a little oompa loompa, and that'll pull the prop up enough so that there's a gap so that you can push it under there without pushing the C-clip off. Just be careful. Don't be all crazy with the prop popper. Just be gentle. And so just put it under the corner and just lift it up. And sometimes you'll lift it up and it'll kind of mar the propeller, but that's okay. It's not really doing much of anything. And you just kind of like there's also a it's like a prop pry bar on tinywhoop.com. I really like that. I want to get one of those because that's basically what I use this. I don't really use the plunger all that much. I just kind of get it under here and then just leverage the prop up and see, you can just crank it right up and off. We got red motors, black frame. Let's go with smoke crotch gray on the these are the HQ, what I'm gonna call YOLO ultra lightweight tri-blades. I tested the prototypes ages ago. Jesse very kindly sent me a set, and they did not last very long. These I have flown a few batteries on, and they are not lasting very long either. These are undoubtedly going to be more durable than the previous ones, but still, this is a tri-blade propeller that weighs less than the Gemfan biblade propellers, so of course they're going to be less durable. What I'm having happen with these props is they're developing a crease about 2 to 3 millimeters off the tip of the propeller, and so it's doing that. The propeller's like this, and it's doing that at the end, and then you bend it back, and that makes the crease even worse, and then it rebends, and it's just going to get worse and worse. Transmitter battery's going dead. So for freestyle, I don't think this is going to be a great propeller unless you don't care about changing propellers all the time. I do. I find it super annoying. So yeah, my nickname for these is the YOLO prop. You know, that's pretty telling. It's very cool that we have these available to us. They fly absurd, as you're about to see. I think I might have flown them on the stream the other night. I actually put these the other night on the Emoptera 0802 33,000 kV motors, and it was a nightmare. It was just way too powerful for flying around the house. It was hysterical, but it was way too much. And the ESC didn't seem too pleased about it either. It started like desyncing, and it was really acting funny. So I only flew a couple of batteries on that setup before I was like, nah, this ain't it. But these 0603 motors at 30,000 kV are a better match for this prop. So let's give it a shot. I don't think I've done this before. I don't think I've flown these motors with this propeller before. So this will be kind of cool. Battery swapped in transmitter. Why won't the back cover go on? There it goes. Okay. Grab a battery here. That 33,000 kV with these YOLO props combo also showed me how beat some of my batteries are. My batteries with the blue marker on them, which I just put in here. Yeah, they are on their way out. Simon, yeah, the tortilla blanket is the jam. It's 80 inches in diameter, which is big enough for like 2 people to easily share. It's really nice. Get them on Amazon, they're pretty cheap. All right, let's go. HQ Ultralight YOLO props. Oh man, they're starting to bounce up and down. See the RPMs going up and down? Let's take a little bit of... So this is what's going to happen as these props get banged up. We're going to have to pull this... Whoa, I got that tune really, really aggressive though. So that's fine. Better. Yeah, better. Oh god, okay, yeah. Okay, all the thrust. Hold on. Let me get this, let me sit back and get this transmitter where it's comfortable. Okay. I'm gonna go right upstairs because we'll really be able to see the power of this combo in the living room. Might have just hit a kid in the head. It did, I almost hit a kid and a dog. Look at this. Look at this bag of Swedish fish that Azalea is just going in on, just trying to get through it. Surf the ceiling, yeah. So loads of power. I'm not a fan of the way that Triblades. Wow, we're getting a low battery warning already. I'm not a fan of how the Triblades kind of float or don't float, for that matter. They just, yeah, the especially when you're off throttle, it makes so much sense that the racers run Triblades because they're, you see how it's just kind of, they're just kind of slower in a weird way. They don't slide through the air like... Wow, these batteries are whooped. They don't slide through the air like the biblades do. Which some people like, for sure. But I don't. I'm forever trying to emulate the 5-inch flight experience. Here is a fresh battery. This is a brand new Tiny Whoop folded cell 300 BT 2.0. Look at this. Watch this. We're going to go back upstairs. Prop Junkie says, I ended up really liking those NewBeeDrone Venom V2 biblades. The high pitch on them seems to give just the right amount of extra grip. I don't think there's a relationship between pitch and grip. Additional pitch will give you more top speed. But look at that, yo. These just rail. This combo rail. I mean, these propellers rail. You get the response time of the Gemfan biblades, but then the thrust of a Triblade. Woo! And these 603 motors have plenty of jam. Diagonal, across, oh. Yeah, these 603s have plenty of jam to move these propellers, to speed up and slow down these propellers, I should say. Woo! Yeah, buddy, this is fun. Okay, a little too much fun. On a fresh battery, this is something else. Whoo, shit. Let's spend a little time down here with it. I like stubbornly tried to get into that cube because I didn't set it up right on the drop, but it wasn't having it. I think this battery's about done. Nah, it's got a little bit more. This is a lot of power. A lot of power. Perfect for upstairs, but this is going to be a bit much here, I think. These are only 30,000 kV though, right? Keep that in mind. Like, I would really love to see this motor in like 32 or 34 or maybe even 36. But the question becomes, do we need this? Do we need this extra level of power on 65 millimeter rigs that are kind of more for indoor stuff, right? We are limited on battery size when it comes to these 65 millimeter rigs. So does it make sense? Like, are 702s the perfect sweet spot of weight to runtime to power? Oh god, I've just ruined this perfectly good brand new battery. Don't do that. Don't do that with a fresh battery. That was dumb. Let me get this right on the charger just to boost it up a little bit at least. There and there. Oh god, it's at 350. It's sitting at 315. I've ruined it. That battery is done. That sucks. Got it up to 3.3 pretty quick though. We're gonna do one more. We're gonna do one more. Prop Junkie says something makes them slide just a little less. I'm stuck in between what you were just talking about. I like a little slide, but not too much. Then again, I'm still using 25,000 kV motors. I desperately need to step those up too. So I did a little bit of like super janky thrust testing with those Venom. Here's another fresh battery. With those Venom props versus the Gemfan biblades, and they actually didn't make more thrust. They do certainly look like they have more pitch, but pitch is a measurement that can be a little bit tricky looking. So it's hard to Jesus Christ. Ah! These are absurd. These are absolutely absurd. Oh, yes! For me, a lot of testing ends up coming down to which combo do I miss the least tricks with, right? Like, and your testing should be the same. Like, there's going to be something about each different component that connects with your brain. And yeah, like, it's easy to have like a motor that like, ooh, it's such a cool color. I really want this to be my motor. Or any number of other things, or, you know, what you think you're gonna like the best. It's really important to not focus too much on that. And like, if there's a setup that works best for you, just go with it. Okay. All of a sudden. Oh my god! Wish I could claim credit for that, but that was luck. See how these do in like really tight quarters here. So these tri-blades weigh less than the Gemfan bi-blades, but they've got 3 blades, and the blades are more pitchy, so it's a more draggy propeller. So it might not actually have, even though it's lighter, it might not have the same response time, or a better response time, like you might expect. Oh god. From a propeller that's physically lighter. What I can say is the response time is damn good. Like zero prop wash, even on a dead battery. So yeah, these HQ YOLO props are staggeringly. The performance is unbelievable. I don't like them. I like the Gemfan bi-blades better. From like a just hurl this thing through the air kind of standpoint. But I hit a lot of tricks with these. Like, since these are kind of more controlled and a little bit slower in the air, especially when you're off throttle, I feel like I'm actually a little bit more accurate with these. Unfortunately, they're just not durable enough. Like, in not too many batteries, I've kind of beat these up. I can already tell that I'm going to have to move the PIDs down again sooner than later. This is a fairly fresh set. Oh, see how it just... Okay, so that's a good example. You see how it just barely made it into that... Now, I can obviously just throw it harder, but, like, if I throw this thing through here the way that I normally do, it doesn't sail all the way to the back door. With the bi-blades, when I throw it in here, I hit that door a lot, because I'm not catching it with a blip of throttle like I should be. Whereas with these tri-blades, when I'm off throttle, it's just not. They don't travel as far. There's another blade there to be a little bit less aerodynamic. In a small space like this, though, that might actually help me. The other kind of cool thing about these props is you're not going to need as high of a kV of a motor to get thrust out of them, right? So this is 30,000 kV, and these, like, absolutely hammer. So yeah, if you haven't gone down the crazy high kV, 32,000, 36,000 kV rabbit hole yet, these props are going to be amazing for you, and they're going to really give you that big power experience that the rest of us have been reveling in for a while, getting the newest and best motors. I need to stop running these brand new motor batteries down to 3.3 volts. What am I doing? This guy's at 3.9 already. Hopefully I didn't hurt it too bad. This guy's at 3.8, so we're fine. One more. I like these props a lot. I really do. Maybe if I only crash into the carpet down here, the durability won't be too bad. Also, maybe once I have these props in the Cockroach V3 frame, where the props are going to properly, the tips of the propellers are going to be lined up with the duct, maybe that'll prevent some of the bending that I'm seeing running it in these other frames. There's just this one propeller blade that's developed a crease, and it just gets worse every time. And that's going to be what kills this one. Coal Power says, do tiny whoops have reliable current meters? Probably not. When you set an OSD element for MAH used and a warning that flashes when you go over, say, 250, I do it for 300, but I don't typically notice the flashing. I wait for and then ignore the low battery warning. Look, I got the little K truck up on the top here. Fuck you. Don't do that. Don't fall into the bag. Thank you. Oh, no! What a smack in the face. Oh, boy. Why is the core temperature going up? What's happening? Little buddy, why are you so upset? I'm just trying to show the people the cool little K-truck. Show me what you got. Who remembers those fellas? Keeps my little custom convertible Lego Mini Cooper company. Wow, the core temperature is going ham, probably because of the wow, no, it just doesn't like to be hovered now that I'm jamming with it. So that's a good example of how, like, different, like, you run a rig at different RPMs and it's going to be at a different the vibrations are going to be happening at a different frequency. And so whatever the frequency is that this thing is vibrating at hover, it's not filtering that all that well. But then once I crank it up and actually start flying it, the dynamic filter is having an easier time tracking the vibes. And well, I guess it could be the RPM filter too, but I doubt it. I mean, the RPM filter is just functioning off of actual RPM data. Ooh, yeah, these are really good propellers. Ah, Tiny Whoop has these in stock last time I checked. You should snag a set. These are very cool. It just feels like a racing rig on these propellers. Like, it really does. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but like it feels like it just wants me to do that racing thing where, like, I'm always on the throttle, I'm always pushing it in through maneuvers. Like, it almost encourages me not to be at zero throttle as much, which is kind of wild. Yeah, I like these props a lot, and boy, do they feel good on 30,000 kV 603's, or maybe these are 703's. I gotta talk to Jesse about that. So yeah, get you some of the HQ YOLO props. Props are cheap, man, and they have the most effect on flight characteristics. So you want to start to try to be able to feel different things and have, like, an easy way of feeling the difference between X and Y and Z, propellers are the place to start. When you go from propellers to motors to like frames, it gets way more subtle and it gets way more difficult to actually feel the difference without it just being placebo, which is very, very strong and very hard to get past in FPV. Do 0603's have the Magic Pimp Juice? Hold on. Let's fly a 702 battery. Let's back that all up with a 702 battery. Unfortunately, I don't have a 702 rig on these Triblades. So we're going to go back to the GemFan biblades. Or are we? Or am I going to pull these GemFan biblades real quick? I already pulled one, so I might as well pull the rest. Alright. This will be a much more fair comparison. And I still have this thing... motor limited down to the equivalent of 30,000 FPV. So this is still 30,000 kV rather. So this is going to be a very valid comparison here. Now I'm all paranoid about my C-clips coming off. Teal or pink? We're going to go pink. Pink will look good with the light blue Moon Traveler motors on this rig. Oh yeah, that's hot. That's hot! You sexy beast, you. Alright, here we go. Last battery of the live stream. Thanks for hanging, my friends. Support me over at CiottiFPV.com. I'm going for health insurance this year, man. Help me get some health insurance so that if I get sick, I don't die. Is that guilt trippy enough for you? I will say that these propellers do fit a little bit tight on these motor shafts, so I am going to start drilling these out a little bit. I have a 0.98 millimeter drill bit that is just about right. Bob Noxious dropping the CiottiFPV.com. Like, thank you, dude. Brad Bonden says, I expect a good HD mirror flip next stream since CV Wonder prevented us from seeing it last time. Bob Noxious says, that bag is better than the puddle I put the Grinderino into today. Ugh. Stephen Woodruff says that K-Truck is almost full size. It is indeed. I think it's like 1/8 scale, 1/8 scale maybe. All right, here we go. Flew a bunch of 603 batteries. Now we're back to 702s. Let's see how this is. See if I can even tell a difference. I'm sure I'll be able to tell a difference. This rig is lighter, and we can weigh it afterwards. Transmitter is not on. We can get the scale out. And we can weigh these two. They're on the same propellers now, so this will be cool. I'm waiting on the transmitter to fire up anyway. Let's throw it on the scale. Come on, transmitter. Go, go, go. The rig we're about to fly on the 702s is 27.16 grams all up. The 603 rig is 28.6 grams all up. 1 single gram difference, which is significant, but it's actually not as much as I thought. I thought it would be a bigger weight difference than that. Let's see. Oh, come on now. They're hitting on the ducts. So let's flip it into turtle mode and fire each one of these motors up. It's the left front and the right front. So in turtle mode, they will self-clearance because they're spinning backwards and they're sending thrust upwards, which bends the propeller downward a little bit, and the ducts are angled like this, right? So, yeah, we're now good to go. I also just kind of bent the ducts straight a little bit. Whoa, okay. It immediately feels very light. Almost like the hover point is lower, but wow, does this feel light? Wow, I cannot believe. Fuck you! Oh, you goddamn son of a bitch. I cannot believe how much lighter this feels. I mean, at 24 grams, or whatever the hell it was, 1 gram is a lot, in fairness. But I'm shocked that there is a big difference in acceleration. Whew, boy. Wow, okay. This is wild. Like, I'm almost having trouble keeping it down. Like, it wants to fly up towards the ceiling. I'm having a hard time dropping. Elevation! Jesus Christ. This is so fast. This feels really good on these propellers. Holy Christ. In theory, the 0603's would be a better match for these propellers. Oh, screw you. It hit me. It hit me, son of a bitch. How dare you? Man, these props feel good, bro. Bro! If I'm saying bro a lot, it's because Azalea says bro a lot now. It's rubbing off on me. Alright, it's hitting. So I have finally abused one of these Cockroach V3 frames enough that I'm having to straighten the ducts out. Which is to be expected from a lightweight frame. Yeah, this is crazy how much lighter this... Oh, that was a hard hit. I was full throttle when that hit the ground. Oh, wow! I can't believe it went through those gates. This might be harder to fly like this, though, because it's, like, so lightning quick. Oh my god! Oh! No! Oh, didn't need to disarm there. Still plenty of power, too. Nope. There it is. Oh, denied. Oh, it was almost perfect. Ah! Yo, I'm having a hard time with the Mega Power Loop lately. I don't know what it is. It is a difficult move. Look at the runtime, man. Look at the runtime from 702's. Good lord. I mean, we're not actually getting 3 minutes and 20 here. I think it was... Yeah, no, this is too much runtime. There's something weird going on with the runtime, but still. Like, 702's get up over 3 minutes all the time, and it's just wild. I mean, I think 602's... I think 603's do have the Magic Pimp Juice, but I think 702's are better. Boy, saving weight on these things really makes such a difference. Wow. This flies really good on these Triblades. I am going to have to put a bunch more time into these Triblades to really adjust to them and compare them to the GemFan buys. I think the GemFan buy blades are better for some of like the big nasty throws that I'm doing across the room, especially like upstairs, but for like the more technical stuff, these Triblades, I'm hitting a lot of these gates with these Triblades, and they look good against that light blue. Yo! Well, GemFan also has a ultra lightweight. These HQ ultralight props are also higher pitch. GemFan has the 1208s, which are really good. They're not quite as light as these. They're a little bit heavier than their biblades, but they're lower pitch. The 08 pitch is very low pitch, which is great for throttle resolution and freestyle stuff. These are really good props. I don't like these as much, though, probably because of the weight, as these guys on these 702s. I like these props on 603's and 802s. Hell of an achievement to make a high pitch tri-blade that also works on 702s. It makes sense. This is like the racer's prop, and most of the racers are running significantly lower KV 702s, but still 702s. This is damn. This is legit. But this is also throttled down to the equivalent of 30,000 kV. It doesn't really need more kV than that, though. I'm going to turn this back up to full Stankalotopus, and I bet you I don't like it as much. I bet you it's kind of too much. And what we can do next time is play around with it at 32,000 and 30,000 to see if at 30,000 it makes pretty much the same power as 32,000. That runtime was fucking crazy. Biblades are supposed to be more efficient. But I think something was weird with that runtime. We got to fly more than just a couple of batteries on this to really dial in on that. Ooh. Shit. That was tasty. Live stream live in Discord, Kevin Sumner says. Live stream live. Ah, nice. Looks like Kevin's going FPV on his Tiny K truck. The Tiny K trucks are sold by tinywhoop.com. Shout out to Jesse for sending me one for free a while back when he first got them. This is rad. This will be very cool. What's that, Walksnail? It is. Ooh, shit. That's going to be cool, man. Little fan on there and everything. Awesome. Love it. I got a little analog set up for mine. I just got to get it in there. All right, friends. Thank you for hanging out. My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Head on over to CiottiFPV.com and click all the buttons. And I'll keep doing this forever. Support me, and we will continue to make Tiny Whoops fly a little bit better every day. Every other day, roughly. See you guys tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. I don't know what we'll do, but you know it'll be fun. Alexander with the last comment of the live stream. He says, I always thought you were maybe just hating on 75mm rigs for indoor use, but now I fully agree with you. Thanks for all your info. You're certainly welcome. It's funny how that works, right? Not everybody, but so many people with the whole 75 thing are just like, nah, you're just a fucking hater. And I'm just over here like, yo, I have no, like, 65mm is not paying me off. Like, I have no, the shit that's good, I tell you is good. The shit that's less good, I tell you it's less good. I have nothing invested in one or the other. It's funny to see the 75mm guys once they finally build. Usually, it's once they finally build the ultimate freestyle Tiny Whoop with 32,000, 36,000 kV motors, they'll come back and be like, "Whoa, I get it now." So, yeah, enjoy, Alexander. It's my pleasure to. Be the scapegoat. Be the guy that gets all kinds of shit. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Bob Noxious dropping the link, Northern Tier, saying great filter discussion. Thank you, dude. Be good, friends. I'll see you tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Here is the Walksnail 75mm rig outside again. Hendrik Freakazoid says, maybe if you live in a mansion, 75mm is good. Yeah, big enough space to fly in. 75 is great. But yeah, even like upstairs here, which is pretty damn big, it's 65, man. It's the way. 65 is the way. Even outside sometimes, CMYK is having trouble finding the merits of 75 mil outside. Speaking of 75 mil outside, here you go. Here's a little bit more. This is what I played in the intro, in case you didn't see it. Here you go. I'm not happy with the way this thing flies. I need to do some more work. Bye-bye! Oops, hold on.